Breaking updates, very important. Snow White, there's been an enormous amount of controversy surrounding Snow White, obviously.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people don't like her either. She's got a big mouth. She talked trash about the original movie.
Controversy has been dogging this movie since the very beginning. So much so that the Daily Wire, I think we played a major role in basically forcing Disney to go reshoot it. Well, it didn't help, apparently. Disney's Snow White was essentially a box office dud.
Disney's new live-action remake of Snow White debuted this weekend, and it's an even bigger dud than anticipated.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
Disney is having its own problems. They're finally releasing the latest adaptation of Snow White, but they're scaling back the Hollywood premiere of the film. Kinsey, why is that?
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
And now you better have a good reason to get people to the theaters, and this ain't it. The movie apparently is not very good. I haven't seen it yet. I would be shocked if it were. Again, the star, Rachel Zegler, is unbelievably charmless in public. Studios really need to go back to what they originally did, which was tell your stars to shut up and not say things, because no one is paying to hear your star say offensive things off the screen.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
Now, one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she's not helping at all one bit.
Every time she opens her mouth, it's crisis mode when it comes to Disney having to backtrack. She talks about how this isn't a fairy tale about falling in love with the prince. This is a fairy tale about fighting your own battle.
She's not like the ideal choice for the lead role in Sweet Snow White.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control mode.
This is truly, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry.
There are a lot of reasons you have to suspend disbelief when you watch a movie like Snow White. There's magic, and there's talking forests and animals that act in human ways and such. But probably the biggest aspect of disbelief you have to suspend is the idea that Gal Gadot, as the wicked witch here, as the evil stepmother, is somehow less good looking than Rachel Zegler. Come on, gang. We ain't blind.
Neither of them make any sense for their roles. We've already covered how Rachel Zegler is a terrible choice for Snow White. Gal Gadot, who plays the queen, the first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty, and that is just not believable. I cannot buy that Gal Gadot is angry that she's not as beautiful as Rachel Zegler. I cannot buy that.
I understand that we're supposed to pretend that disabilities no longer exist or something, but we're not all blind. We can still see. I don't know if that mirror was broken.
Has there been a film with worse casting than this? And I don't just mean the Snow White actress. Obviously, she's terrible, but both of them.
Oh, man.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
There's a reason why the public has shifted. If you can't avoid this movie, you absolutely should because it's absolute trash. I know some people like this movie. Some people are stupid. Oops!
In an old kingdom, a magnificent palace stands at the heart of the city, where a young prince lives with his loving mother. She is a kind and wise woman who teaches him about compassion and justice. However, time brings sorrow as she falls gravely ill. Despite the best efforts of the royal doctors, she passes away, leaving the prince in deep grief. Though the palace remains grand, it feels empty without her warmth.
And they decided to cast Rachel Zegler, who is Hispanic, as Snow White. Now, again, you can cast people however you want to cast people. I really don't care. However, Snow White, in which the description of the character is skin as white as snow, lips red as the rose, right? I mean, there's an actual physical description of the part. Not my fault it's written that way. It ain't racist to write it that way. That's the description of the part. That's what it is. The name of the movie is Snow White.
In a peaceful village, a cheerful little girl named Cinderella lives happily with her mother and father. Her father is a respected merchant who works hard to provide for his family, while her mother fills their home with love and laughter. Cinderella is full of life, chasing butterflies and playing among the flowers. She listens eagerly to her mother's bedtime stories, believing in magic and kindness.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed.
One day, tragedy strikes as Cinderella's mother falls ill. Despite all efforts, her condition worsens, and she eventually passes away. Cinderella's joyful world is shattered. Her father does his best to comfort her, but he, too, is heartbroken, left with only memories of her mother's love. Cinderella tries to hold on to the warmth that once surrounded her.
Behind the scenes, you guys know as well as I do that those executives like Spielberg are looking at that saying, Rachel Zegler can F right off.
After some time, Cinderella's father remarries. His new wife is a strict and proud woman with 2 daughters of her own, dressed in fine silk and jewels. They arrive at Cinderella's home, immediately making her feel like an outsider, while her father hopes this new family will bring happiness. Cinderella senses that her life is about to change in ways she never imagined.
One of the reasons why Rachel Zegler sticks around is she's got a beautiful voice and she has some talent. So I think that certainly helps her because she's a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire.
During a business trip, Cinderella's father unexpectedly falls ill and passes away. Now completely under control of her stepmother, Cinderella's life takes a dark turn. No longer treated as a daughter, she is forced into servitude, doing all the household chores from scrubbing floors to cooking meals. Her stepsisters treat her with cruelty, mocking her and giving her the name Cinderella because of the cinders on her face from working near the fireplace.
It showed that the dwarves were not, in fact, dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, because that would be offensive apparently to little people, so instead, they just made the dwarves normal-sized humans, which was idiotic, because that's not the story. Then they decided they couldn't actually cast, little people in these roles, so they decided to cast big people and then shrink them down using CGI, so it looks terrible.
One day, an important announcement comes from the royal palace. The prince is hosting a grand ball, inviting all the young women of the kingdom. Excitement fills Cinderella's home as her stepsisters prepare lavish gowns and dream of winning the prince's heart. When Cinderella timidly asks if she can attend, her stepmother cruelly laughs and tells her she cannot go, for she has nothing suitable to wear.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17.
On the night of the ball, after her stepmother and stepsisters leave, Cinderella sits alone in the dimly lit kitchen, tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, a magical glow appears, revealing a kind and elegant fairy godmother. With a gentle smile, she assures Cinderella that she will go to the ball. Waving her wand, she transforms Cinderella's ragged clothes into a breathtaking gown. A pair of glass slippers shimmer on her feet, and a golden carriage stands ready to take her to the palace.
You told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
As Cinderella enters the ballroom, all eyes turn to her in awe. The prince, captivated by her beauty and grace, steps forward, offering his hand. Together, they glide across the floor, lost in each other's presence. Cinderella feels as if she is living a dream, surrounded by music, laughter, and the warmth of the prince's gaze.
Did dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said,
Time passes quickly, and soon the clock begins to chime midnight. Cinderella suddenly remembers the fairy godmother's warning. The magic will disappear when the clock strikes 12. Panicked, she rushes away, leaving the prince calling after her. As she runs down the grand staircase, one of her glass slippers slips off her foot. She disappears into the night, just as the final chime echoes through the palace.
It cost $270 million to make. $270 million. Disney has botched this Snow White movie every way it's possible to botch this Snow White movie. So you'll recall that originally the Snow White movie starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, you'll remember that film had a trailer so awful that Disney had to completely recut the movie.
The prince, heartbroken yet determined, finds a glass slipper on the staircase. He vows to find a mysterious girl, declaring that whoever fits the slipper will be his bride. The next day, messengers are sent throughout the kingdom, visiting every home to find the girl who wore the slipper. Clip 11. When the messengers arrive at Cinderella's home, her stepmother quickly hides her away, refusing to let her try on the slipper. Her stepsisters eagerly attempt to fit into it, but their feet are too big. Just as the messenger prepared to leave, one of the palace attendants notices Cinderella in the shadows and suggests that she, too, should have a chance.
Early estimates suggested that they would take in 48 to 58 million in the first weekend. Apparently, it did 43 million in its first weekend. But this live-action remake is a giant fail. It is not doing well at the box office.
That means Snow White is destined to be one of the biggest bombs in Disney history. It will not recover.
As Cinderella carefully slips her foot into the glass slipper, it fits perfectly. Gasps fill the room as everyone realizes the truth. Her stepmother and stepsister stand frozen in shock, unable to deny what they have just seen. Word reaches the prince, and without delay, he rushes to see her with his own eyes. Clip.
Now you have Rachel Zegler saying, oh, that 1937 movie, that's just, oh, it's tacky, it's weird, we're going to change all that.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that.
The prince takes Cinderella's hand, looking at her with joy and admiration. He leads her away from the life of hardship she has endured. The kingdom celebrates, for their prince has found his true love.